Welcome back to Janperson, not Janperson, Metal Heroes Review, episode 127. Yes, I am discussing Janperson. I'm discussing 3 episodes this time, not 1, 3. Episode 16, 18. Quite interesting episode, this one. So, in this particular 3 episodes, we have it where George has a scientist had kidnapped this weird random guy who they refer to as R3 in the episode, where he's injected with this mind soul thing where he thinks he's like various different people, like first he's like he's like Florence Nightingale, Count frickin' Dracula, a child. Like he's even he was a cosmonaut. At one point, he's even posing. He is Space Sheriff Gavin. I'm like, you freaking kidding me? Like Gavin. By the way, a little weird thing with this. At this point, it's been 11 years. It's been at this point, I think it's been 10 years since Gavin aired. And we have a reference to Gavin. I'm sure basically any person was a kid in the 1980s and they saw this oh my gosh, Gavin. It's a brief bit. Also during the course of this episode, Janperson is hearing this mysterious voice, which I think had been teased a little bit in the previous episode, destroy evil, and it gets more intense in episode 16. And of course, by the end, R3 blows himself up. The 2 robots who, I keep forgetting about these. Now these robots, I keep forgetting to mention this. These robots, their faces look like Lars Henderson from the Alien movies. Also, I keep forgetting to mention this too. This is another thing I keep forgetting to mention about these series reviews for Janperson. For some weird reason, and I have no idea why in the world that Janperson does this for. Where, for some weird reason, they play Star Trek music in this show. Yes, I think they play the music from Star Trek Generations in this one, which I found that quite interesting. I'm like, how the heck did Toei get their hands on the music for Star Trek Generations, which came out the very same year as this show? At some point, once they get their hands on it, it's kind of weird. So then this leads into episode number 17. We have this mysterious woman show up in the airport. Also, if I'm going to mention, Janperson got a new look for his car because it's been clear cut now. It's more defined, more English. So she arrives and she takes a taxi to someplace, and then she's confronted by a capo of the International Weapons Mafia. Yes. And then somehow, some way, in this episode, we see Takawaki, he's the finance guy, one who's eccentric, and also we see George in the same episode. I saw this, I'm like, that's interesting. As far as I can tell, this is the first these two ever in the same episode since episode, I kid you not, this is the first time since episode 4 this has happened. Yes. In fact, we even see Renko in the episode too. I'm like, wow. The last time these 3 were all in the same episode was when George and Renko made their debuts. And basically, they're very neutral players in this episode. So then we find that this woman, after she goes to this cave, and this apparently is Janperson's base. Which I'm like, why the heck would you wait 17 episodes in to show off this man's base? Because, now I had not watched the Space Race trilogy. I will watch that soon. But I should point out, though, every single Metal Hero series I've seen, generally has the main character's base show up in the first episode. This is the first one I've ever seen where they don't show the main character's base in the first episode. I mean, what does Janperson have aside from his weapons? His car. That's it. And the base itself looks eerily similar to the base that Mobile Cop G-Bon had. Yes. And it turns out this was actually Janperson's creator. And of course, when they get to her, they kidnap her little brother. Also, she had worked for the UN. They, of course, explained in the next episode that... So, Janperson was... Get this. So, before he was Janperson, he was this police robot named MX... I think it was like MXR1, I think it was. It was this out-of-control robot where it looks like Janperson in his base form, but with all these bunch of weapons. And he goes out of control when he gets these robots. So they just deactivate him. And this apparently took place 3 years prior to this show. So I'm guessing, because far the synopsis for the Space Force trilogy, those took place in the late 1990s. So I'd say this flashback is probably, and I'm guessing at this, probably just a year after. Like, if you don't have Space Force trilogy at this point, I would say this is probably a year after G-Bon. Not G-Bon. Robocop. This is about a year after G-Bon left the country to basically fight more evil. Yeah, this is probably like 1 year later, because I think that it started back in 1889, I think it was, and was wrapped up in 1980, so it could have been like just right in the aftermath of it, which I thought that was kind of interesting. So then, of course, about a year, and of course she quit, this woman, she quit her job. I think her name was Yuno, I think her name was. So she quits her job, and then we find out that apparently she came back and just rebuilt. MX is basically Janperson. Like, by the way, when he was this previous prototype, he was green. And then, thanks to her modifying his metal, he becomes from green to purple. And also, he's also modified himself. But the one thing, we do see, when he was a prototype, we do see his gun he uses. We do see the knee rocket launcher. I'm like, okay. Like, those two are still there. Also, the hand thing that he does, where it's like a wire attached to it. So, in the when he was the prototype, that the hand did come off, like in the case of Janperson, but there was no wire attached to it. It was basically one of those like jump off and then come back automatically type of hands. And in case you're curious, though, did he have the big, humongous, hunky machine gun? Yeah, he did. He certainly did. So it's mostly almost the same weapons, except it doesn't have the big tube on its back. They removed that, and all the, like, what appears to be almost like he's wearing a skirt. They removed that, and basically made the way he is currently. So then the woman goes to get her brother, who's kidnapped by the Kappa, who is being manipulated by Takawaki, and so they had to have it where that he gets arrested, and like during this whole conflict that he comes in and it's the voice, and he basically overcomes the voice. Then the place starts blowing up, and then Janperson's car shows up. You're like, what the heck is that car doing there? And then we see the scientist on the ground look like she's dying. The brother's being carried over by Janperson. You're like, what the heck is going on here? And then we see and of course, you think, oh, his sister's gone, but nope. Now, I'll get to that part. That was really cool, the next part. So, then, of course, it's discovered that the Capo is alive, and Yuriko is alive. And like, how? Robot double. Apparently, she made a robot double. When? Don't know. And apparently, she's going to assist Janperson in his endeavor, and probably going to use that base forward. And then we see something quite interesting. So, Takawaki gets contacted by George, which is the first time these two have ever interacted. Though it's via video screen, mind you, but first time these two ever spoke to each other. And then, just by some weird... This was really weird. So, they're chatting like, oh, I'm about the Janperson, I'm about the Janperson. Reiko is randomly... The way this is shot, it's almost like... I don't know if this is done on purpose. Like, it didn't look like a split screen per se. It kind of looked like, if I'm looking at my screen here, it kind of looked like this was the very next set over, and this wasn't really shot properly because Reiko and George were very close to each other, to the point where they could obviously be in the same exact room, despite the fact they're supposed to be in two different locations, though she has a crossover to the Neo Geo headquarters side, and then you have Takawaki just be like a cartoon, just open up a hole between them like, Janperson's my prey! Stay away! Okay, that was kind of funny, but this was really cool. This is the third episode, the whole show, where we have the three leaders of these three factions in the same episode. Will this happen next episode? Well, it just seems as though basically we're going to get some changes to the show after just having random episodes for a while. And I guess now we're back to having a supporting cast after the original supporting cast was dropped from the show for no explained reason. Like, first we had these two cops and a reporter. First reporter shot by episode 6. 2 episodes later, one of the cops is dropped, and then the other one is not seen for about 5 episodes. Pops up for 13 and never seen the series ever again. No, seriously, he is never seen again. Not even mentioned. Like, there's no mention what happened to him. He just is stopped appearing. Per se. Yes. Now, for those of you curious though, why the heck would they drop him for? I have honestly no idea. But this was... I love these 3 episodes. And, of course, yes, I did enjoy the Spaceship Gavin reference. I thought that was quite nice. As someone who really enjoyed Gavin. Gavin's a great show, by the way, if you get a chance to watch it. Which it is on physical media here. And it's on Tubi. Yes. I have no idea why they put it on Tubi for, but they did. And they even, get this, so they even decided to put the show also not only on Tubi, but it's also on YouTube. But it's actually totally released on YouTube. They're like, huh, interesting. So at this point, Takawaki, this is, well, he has Jeff Gudo, that's the guy in this episode. He does not have much left to go for him at this point. Not really, no. He has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He only has like 5 more episodes of stuff for him to do. By the time I go on my break, he would not have much left to go. For George, he himself, like, well... Yeah, for some weird reason, he featured in 3 straight episodes. So he has 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more to go. Yeah. As for the Super Science Network, however, I think at this point they're probably just going to send people around the same person. They're probably going to do the whole thing of like, just, oh, this is my episode. No, this is my episode. They're probably going to stop doing that. Oh, her name is Karu, not Yuriko. My mistake. Yeah, it's interesting, though. That when they debut here, it's like, yeah, it's like the start of a new story arc. Also, this is interesting though. So the game, there's actually in episode 17, Takawaki is playing a NES game that was never released outside Japan, known as Ryoki Hidden Dazurope. I found this interesting, given the fact this was the first time I've ever seen a villain in any of these Tokusou series playing an NES game. I guess because they have, a sponsorship. Probably. But oh, it's MXA1, excuse me. But like I said, this was really good. In case you're curious though, at this point, I have exactly, overall for the whole series, 32 to go. Overall, before I go on my break, I have exactly 14 left. Yes, and before I go my next pause again, I have exactly 6 more left to go. I probably will get to it tonight. I probably can finish up tomorrow, okay? So yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Next up we have is the season finale of Let This Giving Silver Retire, okay? Next video. Bye.